So, Total Drama. It's a very hit or miss show in terms of quality, but enjoyable nonetheless. A cartoon about fictional teens entering a reality show at a summer camp for the chance to win a ton of money, with the appeal being its strong blend of comedy and character drama. Even if the humor could be a little over the top in regards to gross out, while it had its fair share of issues such as wonky consistency and flat out forced eliminations, it's a mostly well regarded cartoon, particularly with Gen Z kids like me, and it managed to get a bunch of seasons throughout the years, with them ranging from pretty good to what are you even doing, ending in the mid to late 2000s, when the TV climate changed in a way where more narrative focused cartoons couldn't thrive, as mentioned by Tom McGillis in a Reddit AMA a few years back. However, the crew managed to find a way to keep the Total Drama brand stick around. And that is by making a show with toddlers in a daycare and having it purely focused on lowbrow comedy. Nobody liked it, I hate that it exists, and this is all that I'm acknowledging it. So with the pretty poor spin-off likely being the only Total Drama related show we'll have, I decided to watch other cartoons instead, thinking that a new TDI season was practically impossible. That is until 2021, when the impossible turned out to be possible. Cartoon Network announced that they've ordered a 2-season reboot, with a brand new cast competing. I was hyped, the fans were hyped, despite the announcement happening shortly after the fan-made Total Drama reunion was cease and desisted by Fresh TV, but whatever, we have new official content, and it was looking pretty promising, with an emphasis on more diversity within the characters, like race, sexuality, and even an amputee. Plus, there would be more focus on having strong challenges. Sounds fun, though I had to admit that I was cautiously optimistic about whether or not the new season would retain the groundedness of the first 3, since the later ones did tend to go off the wall with the personality types. Looking at you, Dr. Evil and Kokichi's love child. It would take a while before more news about these seasons came out. The announcement was made before writing even began, and we wouldn't get a glimpse of the new cast until a year and a half later, something that would become a recurring issue of the show later on. Anyways, I think the new characters look pretty nice, though if I had to critique one thing about them, I'd say that they all don't look similar to any of the originals, in terms of bodies and shape motif, as they're not as pushed like in the old art style, probably a byproduct of the artists being from Dramarama. The remnants of that show can be seen within some visuals. Nevertheless, not too bad. Aside from Bowie's strange outfit choices, it's all done pretty well. With all that said, and now that I caught you guys up to date, let's see whether or not the new seasons live up to the originals. Spoiler alert, kinda. I'll be going through this on a character by character basis. Well, except for a few. Chris McLean, who's the main face of the show, a charismatic narcissist with little regard for anyone's well-being, not only to the contestants, but even his crew. While this was thankfully toned down compared to previous seasons, where he became a megalomaniacal sociopath.
Okay, here goes!
But he still manages to be quite the scumbag throughout.
In the middle of this 50-foot tapeworm is a finish line. Don't worry, the line was drawn with beet juice. We'd never make anyone eat ink, we're not monsters.
However, one thing of note that I didn't like that much was his new voice actor, who is Terry McGuiran. He voiced on In a Redonkulous Race, and he did a nice job. It's just that I'm too used to his original and iconic performance from Christian Potenza. Terry has mentioned that it was done to honor the new season's reboot status, although it may have also been from some rather unsavory allegations regarding Christian, but I don't feel comfortable getting into that can of worms now because of how everything isn't definitive. Regardless, I eventually got used to it as the show went on. Fun to watch, albeit a downgrade from before. Next is Chef Hatchet, who has more involvement with the show compared to the later seasons, basically having a handful of lines throughout All Stars and Paketeo. Now, he recaps things the losing contestants did at the elimination ceremonies, and has a new character dynamic where he's more of a voice of reason to contrast Chris's savage hosting. While I do like it, if there's anything I miss from Chef, it's the edge, and overall, had enough of everyone's attitude he used to have. I've heard that he's now similar to his incarnation in Dramarama, not just with the outfit being carried over, likely to not alienate any kids who watched it. But I miss that edge. So yeah, he's just an alright character in the reboot seasons. Another thing I want to talk about before I move on to the contestants is the new focus on challenges, with many of them being pretty fun to watch. One problem I had with the original island is how the rules for some challenges could be inconsistent at best, or flat out unfair at worst. The newer ones look well made, and have better thought put to them. Are some of them ripped from Survivor? Sure, but I think that's the point. Given the cartoon was a parody of that since the beginning, there weren't any challenges that I hated, aside from one in season 2, but I'll get to that eventually. On to the contestants. Thankfully, the writers did a great job at keeping the personalities grounded and believable this time. As mentioned before, the cast in the later seasons started feeling gimmicky, and having basically no character outside of that. Everyone aside from one could be actual people in the real world. Starting with Caleb, he's similar to Justin as the sub-muffin of the group, and just like season 1 Justin, he barely has any presence or things to talk about cause he got first boot. At least the reason was pretty believable. Bowie convinced his teammates that Caleb could be a force to be reckoned with, and that now was a good chance to nip him in the bud. That's pretty much it. Better luck next time, Caleb. Axel. Her survivalist persona feels like a good blend of Eva and Sean. I was pretty curious to see how she could play as the game went on. What would her strategizing evolve into, especially after the merger? But just like Eva, she gets eliminated in the second episode from her over-aggressive leading in the ship challenge, primarily with kicking Ripper off cause of how stubborn and loud he was about wanting leadership. And I'll get to my thoughts on Ripper eventually. Oh, just you wait. A possible finalist wasted as early as episode 2? Well, that sucks. I'm sure there's other fun characters to watch, right? How about Nichelle, a popular yet cocky movie star who joined Total Drama because... I don't know. They don't really elaborate on why she joined to begin with. Maybe to boost her reputation? But she's already got that from starring in action movies? Doesn't matter too much. As long as she's fun to watch, it shouldn't be that important, and she was. Until episode 3, where it's revealed that her doing all stunts by herself thing was all a lie, proceeding to waste her team's time as she cries about being a fraud and causing them the challenge.
No, I don't. I lied. I don't really do any of my own stunts. They won't even let me cross the street. My body double has to do it.
Feels pretty weird given that the previous episode, she seemed pretty capable with handling everything and leading her team to victory. It didn't involve a lot of physical activity aside from dodging the cabbages, but she was doing fine. Gotta say, I'm bummed with how her character ended up being. Hopefully, she'll be more capable next season, right? Scary Girl, aka Lauren. An eccentric girl who has quite the macabre interests, and she's one of my favorite contestants of the season. Think of her as Izzy, except more gothic. She definitely leans more into a gimmick type character, but she pulls it off pretty well, since she's the only one who's like that. Though I don't think that any of the writers had faith in her at all in competing, given her early boot status. But I wanted to see more of her. Do I want her as a finalist? Maybe not, but I at least wanted to see Scary Girl as an early merger boot, you know? I can see why not all people may like her, but Scary Girl had the right amount of chaos and frenzy for me.
If you're gonna hide a body, clap your hands. If you're gonna hide a body, clap your hands.
Here's hoping she might have a higher rank next season. So, Damien, a chill guy who has some interest in science, and is also the straight man to the craziness of Total Drama, and he accomplishes it pretty nicely. Dave from Pocketeau Island was built up to be a similar character, that is, before he went absolutely insane with the Sky plotline, so I'm glad that they tried it again with Damien, but actually committed to it.
No! No, no, no! You cannot put that on TV!
There are now sharks in the water.
Why?
Because I put them there.
How hot is this water gonna get? Am I gonna have to drink it? Is this toilet water? Why is she looking at my head? Tell her to stop looking at my head!
He has a nice arc idea of starting off traumatized and wanting to go home ASAP, then wanting to overcome it and win Total Drama during the farting episode. And in case you're wondering about my thoughts on that, well, to be honest, the moment I saw what the challenge was gonna be about, I went, ah, sweet, farting. I'm not watching any of this and skipped a good chunk of the episode. Anyways, Damien, now motivated to be the winner and whoop Chris's ass, ends up on the chopping block, thanks to his teammates still believing that he wants to go home and honor his elimination campaign earlier in the episode. So this is like, what, the 4th character in a row that I found to have potential only to get booted off? Damn it. Hopefully there will be more to root for. Moving on to Mary Kate, or MK for short, a snarky, conniving girl with a knack for pickpocketing and hacking, all to win total drama while flying under the radar. She might be my favorite contestant of the reboot. So charming and funny, from the way she bounces off other players, and her plan to hack in the confessional booth's archive, to get dirt on the other contestants and wreak havoc. I love characters who fall on an anti-hero or morally gray side. They are more fun to watch over good guys when written well, and she sure fits the bill nicely. MK's a lot like Noah, but actually having a strategy down and doing stuff, all of it working well for her until episode 6 when Julia discovers she's been monitoring all the confession footage, and then successfully convinces her teammates to boot MK. I can get why some people may not like her voice could get irritating, and I heard she's a one-to-one copy of a character from Ocean's 8, but I haven't seen that, or really any Ocean's film, to change my judgment on her. Another point of interest with MK is she's the only total drama character to go through a redesign after the premiere, as her initial skin tone was more on the yellow side, which fans seen as problematic given MK's an Asian, and the crew actually revised the episodes to give her a more tasteful skin tone, though I've seen a few comments that felt like it was whitewashing her, but it wasn't that much. When the seasons finally hit America on Max, the old versions with the yellowy skin were used at the time of writing. Like, this is all pretty confusing. What else can I say about her? She's pretty solid finalist material out of everyone else. Best girl for sure.
Someone stop the world spinning!
I would, but it'd trigger massive earthquakes and tsunamis, and I do not want that on my conscience.
Then there's Wayne and Raj. I'll tackle both of them at the same time, since it seems fitting in many ways. They are these hockey bros who initially came off as a big threat from their first appearance.
Guess that makes this the other team then. What you think, Raji?
I'd be more impressed with a clogged toilet.
But then end up as more comedic yet capable guys.
Hey, there's no we in team.
Yeah, that'd make it tweam.
And no one says that.
It's with episode 4 where they start to have something to do, narratively speaking, when Raj starts crushing on fellow contestant Bowie, and Wayne's excited, and trying to be as supportive in having him come out.
The shark? Did he make out with the shark too? No, he just doesn't want to tell me about kissing Bowie. Does he think I won't be supportive? I gotta find a way to show Raj I'm with him 110%, 120% even. Whoa, I've never given 120 before.
Initially, I wasn't that interested in either of them in my first watch, feeling like they were a step above Katie and Sadie, but over time, they grew on me exponentially as I rewatched. I found Wayne more entertaining than Raj, considering it felt like Wayne overshadowed him a bit in terms of presence, and I found Bowie to be more fun to watch than Raj, but we'll get to that soon. Overall, a nice team with a good bromance. And now, we get to Ripper. Oh my god. I think Ripper might be my least favorite character among the new cast. No contest. Okay, maybe some competition. Ripper is like if you took Owen and Scott and fused them together into Mega Douche McJackass. He's a brash, stubborn animal who's all about trying to get the world record for longest fart. Like, I'm sorry, after Total Drama's last sync with a character all about farting, it just made him into someone that I actively wanted gone ASAP. Unfortunately, he stuck around being the 8th one eliminated. Why? There were far more interesting contestants to focus on that deserve to make it far, or at the very least have more screen time. And he gets to make it past merge? Really? I get the possible appeal of Ripper and the kind of character the writers were aiming for, but he should have gone way earlier. Episode 5 would have been the perfect exit for him instead of Damien. He got his world record of longest fart, character arc over, piss off. Ripper does have his moments, but the fact he overstayed his welcome fast, and that other interesting characters got booted, made me loathe him. So yeah, that's what I think of Ripper. An absolute annoying motherfucker who I'll never miss. Alright, with that ranting done and dealt with, who's next? Z? He's good. A chill amicable guy, built purely for comedic relief, and a pretty fun one at that. Though unlike Wayne and Raj, my opinion of Z did sour a bit in retrospect. On my first viewing, he was one of my favorites, and had a bunch of hilarious scenes.
Well, the captain always goes down with the ship, so I guess I... Oh, is this squirrel? Bruh, you can really taste the nuts.
Is there a reason you never told us one of your legs was a prosthetic?
Probably the same reason you never told me your legs weren't.
Fair enough.
Though over time, I lost some interest in him. I still like Z, just not as diehard as I initially was. The scene where he's revealed to be the amputee was pretty nice. I don't see much amputee rep in media lately, so that's a plus. His elimination was rather hilarious, on how he tried to stage a coup against Chris. With the two alliances he managed to join, it felt like a fitting end for him.
What are teams? Just groups of people that compete against each other?
Yes.
He's kinda one note, though I think that was the point. Just to have a lively stoner guy for entertainment.
I didn't win the $1,000,000, but I wouldn't change a thing. How did I get in here? Wasn't I just on the dock?
And then there's Chase, quite possibly the biggest douche that ever douched Total Drama, an eccentric and arrogant vlogger guy who's competing against his ex-girlfriend Emma, a girl who still has a grudge from Chase cutting her car's brakes and made her crash into a pet shop for the lols. He's also a good embodiment of bros before hoes, with his friendship with Z and Ripper. The writers made him out to be an absolute scumbag, and they sure succeeded. But what's holding him back from being a more enjoyable villain for me was the fact that neither Chase nor Emma talk about anything other than their strained relationship. You can have it be the crux of their drama, but at least have them do other things so they feel more fleshed out, especially with Emma. She had potential to be a more compelling contestant when the writers weren't having her mope about Chase 24/7. At least Chase interacted with the other guys, like Z and Ripper, but I barely remember Emma having much to do other than hang out with Bowie, which only makes it more infuriating when she reconciles with Chase in his elimination episode, where Emma thought he took everyone else out so she could win immunity, only for it to have been from Chase having a pizza obsession, which was introduced in that same episode. Like, talk about contrivances. Their drama was so sloppily written, in my opinion, that it's a low point of the season for me. Anyways, it's now time to talk about the big baddie of the new contestants, Julia.
Now, why don't you go f yourselfie?
At first, I thought she was gonna be elimination fodder, being a ditzy Instagram guru who didn't seem like she'd make it that far. But then came the unbearable fart episode, where her true colors are shown, berating one of the raptors as viciously as its fangs.
Mouthwash! Ever heard of it? And get some whitening strips and aligners for your teeth already. I can't even talk about your dry, scaly skin because I will literally barf in my own mouth. And your toenails? Big yikes. It's actually no wonder you went extinct because no one would want to get with that.
Initially, I wasn't so keen on how the show would handle her, but I was soon proven wrong as Julia reveled in her villainy, turning into a modern version of Heather. If there's one thing I think Julia does better than Heather, it was how she managed to work hard for her immunities, whereas Heather looked out for many of them, including one episode where she literally got immunity by complete chance. It makes Julia a lot more convincing of being a threat to everyone else, and I have to admit she can be pretty funny at times.
Sticking Emma with Chase for the challenge will leave her so mad she'll convince at least one of Z, Millie, or Priya to vote for him. 5. Boom. Chase is done.
All in all, Julia surprised me when it came to being an interesting contestant. One of my big gripes with the season was the characters I thought were fun and had potential were shafted, and most of the ones I didn't have much faith in stuck around in the merger. It's absolutely a subjective thing, cause not everyone will like a character equally, but I lost a bit of motivation in watching this, when a majority of the contestants I liked were voted out. If it weren't for Julia and Bowie, I probably would have hated the second half of the episodes. Thankfully, they were charming enough for me to not drop off entirely. Now, it's time for me to talk about the finalists. Let's start off with Millie. I found her to be pretty bland. Millie, more like Mitty. Her writing a paper about her generation's wrongdoings got really annoying, since it became clear that's the only thing that was going for her early on, as well as having a bit of a superiority complex from it. It could be an interesting motivation. Having someone join Total Drama for the sake of starting their academical career is a stark contrast compared to others, but the execution the writers went for made it so middling. Millie did get slightly bearable as the game went on, from befriending Priya, even if Priya was probably the only reason she made it to the finale, though it wasn't enough to make Millie amusing for me. Things heat up between the two when Priya finds the research book Millie made about everyone, kicking off her arc when she realizes that maybe pursuing academic notoriety isn't worth not only ruining a good friendship, but the first friend she had since her lonely childhood. It's nice Millie had some character growth, but why in the finale? It came off as so rushed and anticlimactic. I think a good way to remedy it is to have the notebook reveal happen a few episodes early. That That way there's more time for Millie and Priya to be on bad terms, and have the finale be the reconciliation. Millie could have been more captivating, but in the end, I didn't like her that much. As for my thoughts on Priya, she's better than Millie, but can come off as Mary Sueish at times. A girl who was not only trained by her parents to be a kick-ass athlete her entire life, but also be godlike for a new Total Drama season. It's a little much in my opinion. From the way she was built up, I was expecting her to be an early boot, since nobody that strong has ever been a finalist before. However, she ended up making the finals against Bowie, which I felt wasn't as fun. It's implied that Priya's parents are rather toxic when it comes to raising her as competitively as possible.
You're really into this. I guess winning Total Drama is your ultimate dream, huh?
Not mine, no. It's my parents' dream. But if I win, they might let me go to med school.
Whose parents wouldn't want their kid to go to med school?
Mine? They want me to win here and then do the whole reality TV circuit.
It could make for interesting commentary for helicopter parents, though it's not really developed at all, other than some brief mentions. Priya's just not a favorite of mine. I can see why the fans would like her, but personally, I just wasn't rooting for her to win. Instead, Bowie was my go-to pick, a flamboyant, out and proud gay guy who was down to win Total Drama no matter the cost. He was one of the most entertaining contestants, alongside MK, Z, and Scary Girl, and was a huge highlight throughout the season.
Our team is some real hotties.
For sure, eh?
Okay, if you're gonna talk about me, I'll give you some privacy.
And my phone, which she downloaded all our confessionals onto.
I'm going to fling.
I'll take care of this. There, now our secrets are safe. I'll give you two some privacy to talk. Go ahead, I'm not even here.
You cut the brakes on my car!
Straight couples are messed up.
What? No! You read it wrong. It's a tie. Bowie and I agreed to vote for
You!
Bowie had charisma, played relatively competently, and had a neat relationship with Raj. Is he a bit stereotypical? Sure. Is he a delightful guy? Absolutely. He was set up to be villainous from him getting Caleb eliminated, partnering up with Julia in the cave episode, and kicked off the Priya and Millie notebook conflict. But I wish they played into that more throughout the middle part of the season, just so his strategizing and alliance with Julia would be a bit stronger, you know? Bowie's simply a standout contestant, and was the one who made the final episodes worth something for me, which only makes it more painful that Priya was the winner instead of him. An unstoppable fighter winning doesn't seem that engaging or fun at all, but don't worry, there's the alternate ending like in the previous seasons, right? Nope, it wasn't commissioned at all based on what Priya's voice actor said. That's just great. I feel like the first part of this reboot had its fair share of flaws and poor choices, but I found it to be still nice in the end. The charm of what made the original show good was held up, bringing in some enjoyable and hilarious characters, all of it pretty good. The biggest things holding this season back for me was how the more interesting looking contestants were taken out early for Millie and Priya's underwhelming friendship plot. If the elimination order was revised, and better screen time was given to some characters like Millie, then it could make this stand up to the original seasons fairly, not surpass them entirely, but be well regarded as them. A low 8 out of 10 or high 7 out of 10 is what I'd give if I had to rank a numerical score for this. I'd place it below the original Island and World Tour on a seasonal tier list ranking. I had some low expectations about this being good, but I was pleasantly surprised with how it came out. Before I talk about season 2, I'd like to go on a side tangent about the importance of release schedules for shows, because the Total Drama Island reboot has had some of the worst waiting periods when it came to how the release dates for each country were handled. Let's start from the beginning with Italy, since they're the first to get the season, coming out on April 10th on K2 and Discovery+. Italy has hosted Total Drama season world premieres before, with Pacateo Island airing there first, so it's not that out of the ordinary. After that, I think we all thought, oh, if it premiered in Italy first, maybe we'd be getting the North American release soon. After all, the Canadian Boomerang channel showed a trailer back in March. That has to mean something, right? Well, that was false. For months, we patiently waited, yet received no updates regarding the air date for Canada or the United States. July came around, and the UK aired the new season on BBC, with the network signing on as a co-producer beforehand. People were still holding on hope for a fall premiere. As August came, Latin America then got the reboot with the Spanish dub, so would we be getting it next? And sure enough, we did. for Canada only on October 21st. Okay, fine, it's Total Drama's home country, so they do deserve to have it before America. Surely, viewers in the United States could be having it soon, right? December comes along, and Italy starts premiering the second season of the reboot. It was getting clear that the US premiere was simply not a priority. What on earth was taking so long for Cartoon Network? Terry McGarren did mention that he wanted both seasons to air relatively back-to-back, so was Cartoon Network waiting for the Italy premiere to wrap up before airing all the episodes? If that's the case, then why wasn't Canada the one to premiere it instead of Italy? Did Mr. Saslov have a part of it? I wouldn't be surprised. With his recent string of tax write-offs and overall unkind attitude towards animation, could the whole MK skin change have anything to do with it? None of this made a lick of sense. It's now spring 2024, an entire year after Italy's world premiere of the first season, and now Canada's finished airing the second one. We finally get news for the US premiere of the reboot, June 1st on Cartoon Network. What the hell? I have never seen a show with a release schedule as ridiculous as the Total Drama Island reboot, where America had to wait over a damn year to see the episodes. I know that it's not the center of the world, but America made Total Drama as popular as it was, being one of Cartoon Network's biggest draws for the late 2000s, along with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, back when the network was going through its CN Real slump. Not to mention that it put fans in a tricky situation: pirate the newest episodes and risk the show's longevity, or wait till they premiere in their home country and risk being exposed to spoilers during the break. It's an absolutely abysmal way to handle a schedule. Other cartoons have had huge hiatuses, or seasons being unnecessarily split in two, but nothing quite as debilitating as Total Drama's. Maybe we could get an interview one day where one of the creators can talk about what was holding the US back from releasing the show in a logical manner. But who knows? We can't change the past. It is what it is. I want to move out of America one day. Hopefully, no cartoon ever has to endure an atrocious airing schedule in the future. Enough rambling about that, time to give my thoughts on the second season. And I gotta say, this one was a massive letdown. It had quite a strong beginning. Caleb seemed like he was gonna be a stronger version of Justin in Total Drama Action, and MK and Julia surprisingly became a fun pairing. But my god, does it take a nosedive in the second half. I could talk about the big offender now, but I think it's best to start from the beginning and talk about the recurring problem of wasted potential. I'm mixed about whether or not Scary Girl should have been the first boot. Her normal girl persona looked like it had some bearing for an interesting dynamic with other contestants, and maybe even a character arc. But just like last season, the writers had no faith in her at all, just tossing her out and never looking back. While I could care less for Chase's elimination in the second episode, I thought that Millie's act of tossing Damien in the deadliest point slide for the sake of her team's victory and getting voted out in the next episode was rather refreshing.
I thought you were my friend and you crushed me! That crossed the line.
Yeah, the finish line.
Having everyone forgive her would have been boring and repetitive, since she was already in hot water with her notebook antics from the previous season. It shows a solid example of how consequences can't be easily fixed. Millie didn't improve much at all from her screen time here.
But this time, I'm proud of how I played. Except for that first challenge when I got hit with the paint balloon before anyone else, and the second challenge where I tricked Damien and pushed him down the slide and made my team hate me. And I didn't play great today. I should have read the training binder. Yeah.
Speaking of characters that didn't have growth, Emma's potential got wasted a second time in a row. It's nice that she broke up with Chase after seeing his first elimination episode off screen, and admittedly, how she got him removed a second time, but Emma doesn't have much going for the few episodes she's in, and how she got voted out was straight up depressing, with how her teammates constantly mock her judgment to an absurdly aggressive degree, and it made me feel pretty bad for her.
Emma, dude, keep yelling out the wrong answers so Caleb knows where to step.
Yes! Your gut is terrible! Your instincts stink!
It feels like the writers didn't have hope for Emma's character if Chase is not around, nor felt like they could come up with an interesting arc to make up her season 1 shenanigans. Thankfully, Nichelle became far superior compared to her last outing, actually training to be a proper action star in between the seasons, and it really showed, helping win the first challenge, which was an elaborate Squid Game reference. She always plays strong, even if her team loses in the end. Man, it feels like Nichelle could be a strong finalist after all.
Don't bother, Chef. I just got hired to star in a superhero franchise. 3-picture deal, EP credit, all guaranteed. Nichelle Ladonna is back, baby! I'm coming, Hollywood!
Did not see that coming.
I did.
How?
Because I wrote that big fat fake contract and left it on Nichelle's bed before today's challenge.
I'm sorry. What the f?
Jesus Christ. This has gotta be the most bullshit eliminations in Total Drama history. All that improvement and capability of making it further in the game just tossed out the window in a span of a minute. Why did they write her like that? Didn't Nichelle once say, "Mama didn't raise no quitter"? I get that being a part of the next Marvel blockbuster sounds fun, but was there a moment where she thought, this seems a little too good to be true? Like, come on girl. Nichelle may not have had much personality, probably from the writers prioritizing forming a certain ship. She could have had more development, maybe showing a rivalry with Julia. That was hinted a bunch. Like, why? Anyway, there goes another contestant who could have had more presence in the second season. Let's hope that the next few characters show promise. Oh hey, there's Bowie. I'm very grateful that Bowie was one of the few guys who didn't get ruined here. His relevancy was reduced, and barely had anything lucrative in terms of plot, though I'm happy with what we got here. Bowie's hesitance to take part in MK and Julia's cheating scheme, cause of Raj's insistence of keeping his sportsmanship status, is endearing. While I didn't think the way Raj handled the revelation in the 5th episode was written well, with Bowie starting a snowball fight after they feud, and just forgetting about it afterwards was a bit silly, but they were still neat. Bowie was still entertaining and hilarious, with his elimination being one of the few where I think he left off at a good and satisfying time, especially since the later half of the season is very rocky. Ripper and Axel, the brand spanking new couple. A rather unexpected pairing to me, but one ripe with comedic possibilities. Ripper winning Axel over through a poem felt charming, and dare I say, made me think highly of him this time around. Despite having the roughest of first impressions, these two could have had a strange but cute relationship, if it weren't for them being written just like Bridget and Jeff in Total Drama Action, but grosser, constantly making out 24/7 instead of contributing in the challenges. And just like Bridget and Jeff, it spells their doom as Ripper quits the game right after Axel is voted out. At least Ripper showed some growth with his attitude towards women. He wouldn't have left for Axel if this were season 1. Such a shame, you know? Did I just feel some concern for Ripper? Z felt the same as last time, which I think isn't saying much, since it'd be hard to write this kind of character poorly. His comedic antics this time around weren't as funny to me, not having much to do in terms of plot until he learns about Priya and Caleb's romance alliance thing, getting caught having to keep what both sides want with each other a secret.
Please tell me you didn't talk to Caleb about what I told you.
About you having a crush on him?
Shh! I shouldn't have told you! Did he say anything about me? Don't answer that! But did he? Don't answer that! Please don't mess this up for me!
Until MK and Julia inevitably make him spill the beans in a rather unbelievably forced exposition dump, leading into what made season 2 go from mildly okay to completely painful, the Prelep storyline. If there was anything people were expecting in the new season, it's what kind of person Caleb would end up being. They wouldn't just get rid of him early again, right? Well, he's a major player throughout the season with Priya, starting off partnering with her only for the sake of winning, but slowly starts to fall in love with her for real. It started off as nothing special, a girl superficially lusting over a hunky guy, big deal. But the reboot has surprised me with what directions they took characters in, so maybe they could develop into something nice, right? Well, if you like relationships where the guy becomes an absolute pushover who can't communicate well to save his life, and girls who become nothing but vengefully unreasonable, then Preleb is right for you. Good god, this plotline is painful. The character assassination, how much screen time it takes, and the superficial drama were the worst. I mentioned that I was never Priya's biggest fan, though she was still good with other contestants. She always led her teammates to victory, even if she had to resort to bossy tactics at times. But all of that gets thrown out the window when Z leaks Caleb's original motives to everyone, going from a relatively level-headed kick-ass leader to a harshly furious bitch.
Whoa! Where did that come from? Did you do that on purpose?
For legal reasons, I'll say no. What just happened? How long were they planning this? Was I his plan B this entire time? I do not flare my nostrils!
Priya, I'm gonna miss you so much.
Crush Julia! Stomp her into the ground! She doesn't leave this island with all her toes, got it?
Babe, you're scaring me.
Not even letting Caleb reasonably talk it out with her, someone who gave her immunity the prior episode.
I thought I made myself clear.
you did. I mean, can I please have 1 minute to explain?
I'll give you 30 seconds.
Though to be fair, he isn't winning conflict resolutionist of the year. Plus, Caleb all of a sudden decides that lying is wrong and he never likes doing it, despite the fact that the reason why he's in this mess was because he manipulated Priya into a romantic alliance and had no issues with it whatsoever, starting off as a calm hunk who has the knack for strategizing, only to end up spineless at the hands of Julia and Priya. It'd be one thing if they made up and that was it, except that in these last few episodes, these two go through the same dumb cycle of arguing, making up, arguing, making up, wasting up valuable screen time that could have gone to developing other contestants. You wanted to see other campers like Damien, Wayne, or Raj do something substantial? Sorry, this is the Pre-Lip show, where it's all about Priya and Caleb, and those two only. Oh, speaking of screen time, that's another thing I want to rant about, how Julia's villainy this time around was nowhere near as engaging or competent than last season. Her team had an early dominance, thanks to MK and Julia concocting a scheme to gain intel on challenges and how to cheat them, but that was mostly MK's doing, and Julia only piggybacked off her plan. When it came to the merge, which happens at episode 6 for some strange reason, a common issue began to pop up with her, where most of Julia's manipulation and strategy took place off screen, convincing everybody that the cheating thing was Bowie's idea, getting MK eliminated when she told everyone that they had a truce behind MK's back, and she tried to make Julia look bad, and Damien's immunity idol theft had zero on-screen build-up at all, where we don't see when Julia watched Damien hide his idol, and getting Caleb to do her bidding and who to vote out. Stuff that's kinda important if you wanna sell her as mischievous. Julia now just comes off as nothing more than a plot device for the pre-lib nonsense, with how much plot armor she gained this time, a point of praise I gave her in season 1 being completely undone. I think it would have been more interesting to have MK be the main villain instead of Julia. She does have the chops to pull it off, and was mainly responsible for Julia sticking around as long as she did. Give MK a chance, please. It's not nearly as interesting having Julia not only be the villain again, but is nowhere near as charming, smart, conniving, and believable. Anyways, what's left? MK was still fun to watch, and her cheating plan was plausible, though she could have picked a better disguise, and Chris not caring about it until he gets his hair messed up, thanks to MK taking his hairdryer, was kinda funny, and I like how Damien played better than his last outing, only to get screwed over because of the plot. Wayne and Raj were still nice to watch.
Gotta get clean! Gotta get clean! I still smell like a cheater! I can't scrub the cheat off!
I feel they dropped the ball with Raj, and not giving him anything to do without Bowie or Wayne, so that he could be just as interesting as either of them, but I think the writers wanted to give Wayne a better spotlight this time, since Wayne was kind of a passive character to Bowie and Raj's relationship, and have him part of the final 3. Now Wayne becoming a finalist did have potential, sort of like what Owen was in the original series, but oh my lord, did it feel super underwhelming in execution. I wasn't really rooting for Wayne to win by choice, because both Julia and Caleb are there too. Given that all the goodwill I had towards Caleb was evaporated, and that Julia was nowhere near as menacing or smart like last time, Wayne's victory didn't have the impact it should have. The character interactions throughout the finale were mostly solid.
Caleb, whatever you do, don't look down. I'm not. Good, because that is one long drop. Not helping.
I walked a tightrope in a movie once.
Any tips?
Nah, just saying.
Well, how is that helpful?
If you saw my bank account, you wouldn't be asking.
I, get my cannon for a quick sec?
Let's see. Can she? Oh, boo. Cannon says no.
Okay.
I cheated, lied, manipulated people. How did I not win?
It's a mystery.
But my lingering sense of frustration from the last half of the season left me absolutely apathetic. I'm sorry, but I hate this season. In the end, it set its sights very boldly, yet it missed the mark very badly. There was a lot to like and hate about the new seasons. On the one hand, many new characters were enjoyable, such as MK, Bowie, Damien, and even Scary Girl. The writing was miles better than All Stars and Pakito, but on the other hand, there was so much missed potential with characters and arc ideas. I care about the ones who lost far more than the winners. The 13-episode seasons overall limiting the pacing, and just not enough to give all 16 competitors the necessary spotlight they need, especially with Season 2's pre-lib feeling like a diet right Ryan and Stephanie. I think the title of my video best summarizes what I thought about the seasons. A mixed bag of writing quality. They can be some of the best ones Total Drama's ever got. Again, just tweak the elimination orders, improve the pacing and arcs, and it could be pretty damn great. Will there be another season in the future? Who knows? It's not confirmed yet, and it may or may not involve a new cast, so everything is up in the air for how to improve what the reboot lacked. But if this is the end, then it's at least nice to not have something horrible be the last outing.
Have you ever heard of this Venture Camp? It's a web series heavily inspired by Total Drama. Are you gonna check it out?
This Venture Camp? Let's see. Oh, there's 3 seasons. Wonder how good it'll be. Oh damn, this is pretty solid.
Are you gonna review it though?
Well, soon, but not now. I got other videos I want to get to in the meantime. One that I've been itching to make for a while. If you want to see more vids like this, then like and subscribe, and all that. I'm still in the middle of replaying the game, so that video's probably gonna come out in August, assuming that I don't jinx myself. Anyways, I'll see you in the next time.